Chosen ones, divine victory is near. 3 sacred days to stay silent for supernatural manifestation. In the heart of a quaint rural town, a divine whisper echoed through the sanctuary of St. Mary's Church, stirring the souls of all who gathered. This was not just a prayer meeting. It was a sacred assembly where heaven and earth converged. The scent of burning candles mingled with the fervent prayers that rose like incense, filling the air with an electrifying aura of expectancy. And Sarah, a devoted single mother, felt the weight of something extraordinary pressing upon her heart. Chosen ones, God has a message for us, the pastor proclaimed, his voice resounding with the thunder of divine authority. 3 sacred days to stay silent for a supernatural manifestation. The words slipped into Sarah's spirit like precious oil, saturating her being with unshakable faith. As she closed her eyes, visions of joy and restoration danced before her revival in her beloved community. Suddenly, representatives of the congregation began to rise, fueled by an unseen force. Hands were lifted, voices intertwined in worship, a rich tapestry of human cries reaching toward the heavens. Sarah felt her spirit soar. A prophetic word from an elder sent ripples through her heart. Be silent and know the victory shall come. The promise ignited her soul with a burning hope, resonating like an electric current that spread to those in attendance. Yet, among the sea of amens, there was one voice that persisted in doubt. Mark, her brother, a man of science. His skepticism was a heavy blanket draped over moments of faith. Sarah, you can't be serious. Silence? For what purpose? This is pure folly. He challenged, brow furrowed. But despite his scoffing, she felt the tug of her calling. She would embark on this 3-day journey, a divine challenge written upon her heart. Before the sun dipped below the horizon, tragedy struck as sharp as an arrow. Ethan, her sweet angel, was seized by illness, his tiny body trembling. Panic suffocated her faith like thick fog, clouds of worry hovering over her. She sought refuge in prayer, yet the weight of her brother's doubts clawed at her, pulling her into despair. Could silence heal? With each tick of the clock, Ethan grew weaker, and Sarah's unwavering devotion was tested to its core. 3 days of hushed whispers tore at the fabric of her existence. In vivid dreams, Sarah saw light breaking through darkness. Visions of foreboding turned to hope. As she clung tightly to prayer, the townsfolk began to mutter, their faith eroding as her hours became agonizing. Her silence became a battleground for the whimsical, the whispers of doubt forcing her to wrestle with her deepest beliefs. What if her devotion was misplaced? On the eve of the 3rd day, she felt a newfound resolve. We need to rally our community, she exclaimed, the urgency pulling her from the depths of despair. Within moments, she began to gather the members of St. Mary's, hearts heavy but hearts rekindled with one purpose: to pray for Ethan, to pray for faith renewed. As they congregated, the prayerful energy was palpable, lifting the very rafters of the church. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue with spirits ignited, the prayers poured out, a symphony of faith cascading into the divine. And then, as the clock struck midnight, silence seized the air, a moment suspended in eternity. The darkness trembled before the Lord's presence, the walls of their doubt shaking, when suddenly a miraculous healing unfolded. Ethan's eyes fluttered open, a tidal wave of disbelief, and joy washed over Sarah, promising transformation, hope, and a revival of faith. Yet, in the midst of the joyful uproar, a whisper tickled her heart what might lie before them. Just past this divine victory? The dawn broke softly over St. Mary's, casting rays of golden light through stained-glass windows, filling the church with hues of hope. Sarah stood at the altar, her heart racing, half expecting the miraculous to continue unfolding. Ethan was awake, his little face lit up with a smile that could melt any lingering doubt. But deep within her, she sensed that the journey was far from over. Praise be to God. The pastor's voice floated through the air, resonating with a truth now palpable to everyone present. The congregation gathered closer, eyes filled with wonder, hearts beating as one. But her mind drifted, a haunting question echoing in the corridors of her thoughts. Was the healing just the beginning? As worship erupted, Sarah carved her way through the crowd toward Ethan. He was sitting upright, playing with a toy car, the very picture of life renewed. She knelt beside him, tears sparkling like morning dew. "You are my miracle, my sweet boy," she whispered, her hands shaking as she touched his cheek. But the certainty of joy was mingled with a sense of impending challenge. Around her, the ecstasy was rising, voices lifted in unison, celebrating God's intercession. Yet Mark's face flashed across her mind, his skepticism burrowing deep into her spirit. Had he truly witnessed the power of prayer, or would doubt swallow him whole once more? She could almost hear the faint murmurs of resistance in the air, a reminder that faith is often met with opposition. "Everyone, let us engage in prayer for our community now." The pastor's call rang out, and Sarah felt an instinctive pull. Hands clasped together, hearts laid bare, they prayed as one. She could feel the collective energy, a sacred power churning within them, a force that could topple giants. But her gaze shifted. Out of the corner of her eye, she spotted a figure lingering at the back, cloaked in shadows, the embodiment of uncertainty. Mark. He remained unmoved, arms folded, watching with the skepticism of a scientist examining a miraculous claim. Was he here as a witness, or to stifle their faith? "Mark," Sarah called, her voice piercing through the ambience. The room turned, eyes flicking toward him. "Join us. This is where transformation happens." His brow furrowed in resistance, yet something in Sarah's tone softened his stance. She knew he didn't wish to mock what he could not comprehend, but she sensed he was straddling a line. "The miracle you witnessed is real. It's not just a moment. It's the beginning of something greater," she insisted, her heart racing. With a hesitant nod, Mark took a step forward, joining the circle of prayer. She could see the wheels turning in his mind, the tension of disbelief wrestling with the weight of truth. As prayer loomed, the congregation closed their eyes, lost in the depths of their collective faith. As their voices reverberated, a new sense of urgency filled Sarah's heart. She could feel the pulse of God moving throughout the assembly, beckoning them to become vessels of His grace. "Father," she breathed, "let our healing extend into the community. Let us be instruments for all who are suffering and lost." But as she prayed, a chill swept through her, a foreshadowing of trials ahead. Would they emerge victorious, or be shaken by the winds of doubt? In that moment, the congregation erupted in unison, voices soaring, filling the church with a resonance that felt almost tangible. Sarah's heart soared alongside them, yet the fear crept back. What awaited them outside the walls of their sanctuary? As the last amen rang out, the sweet fragrance of divine hope clung to the air. Yet Sarah's spirit trembled slightly, knowing that every victory awaited another challenge. Could her faith endure through what was to come? The lingering question pushed within her, what if the journey ahead was even greater, requiring sacrifices she hadn't anticipated? With Ethan's laughter echoing in the background, she sensed the dawning of a new chapter, something vast and beautiful, like a horizon stretching far beyond sight. What new trials would shape their path to transformation? In the hush that followed them, Sarah lingered within the delicate cocoon of prayer, her heart a kaleidoscope of emotions. The congregation around her remained lost in their reverent silence, eyes closed, hands intertwined, as if the walls of St. Mary's had molded into a sanctuary of celestial embrace. But the outside world loomed ominous, filled with uncertainties and potential storms that might test their newfound convictions. "Sarah?" A familiar voice broke through the lingering warmth, pulling her from her reverie. It was Mark, standing awkwardly at the edge of the prayer circle. His face bore a mixture of apprehension and hope. The skepticism that once shielded him now slightly cracked. I never truly believed in miracles. But what happened with Ethan, it's reshaped my understanding." She felt an overwhelming wave of gratitude wash over her. "God is at work, Mark. Sometimes our hearts need a little breaking for the light to pour in." His nod was thoughtful, as if he was now wrestling with something more profound than just belief. Around them, the atmosphere felt electric, a divine current running between souls woven together in faith. As the pastor began to speak again, saying something about outreach to those in need, Sarah felt a stirring urgency swell within her. This was not merely about a singular miracle. It was an invitation for the community to rise, to be vessels of love and compassion in a world craving hope. Deep within her spirit, a voice whispered gently, "You're being called." Just as quickly, it alarmed her. The enormity of what lay ahead gnawed at her. She had always envisioned her faith journey as a personal affair, one shaped by quaint moments and divine encouragement. Yet, it was clear now this path was bound to intertwine with the fates of others. "Sarah, do you think we should help organize the outreach?" Mark's voice snapped her back, and she caught the glint of serious intention in his eyes. "It's more than just praying for them. We need to be there." "Yes." The word burst forth from her like a spring of water. "Let us open our arms to our neighbors. They need to feel the hope we've been given." A collective nod floated through the circle. They too buzzed with excitement, the idea of extending themselves beyond the church walls igniting a new flame. Sarah saw the faces light up like sunflowers turning toward the light, a tapestry of determination weaving itself together. Suddenly, the pastor called for volunteers to help with planning. Hands shot up, fervently reaching toward the heavens, each person eager to serve. Sarah gladly joined, leaning into the blossoming sense of community. As names were tossed about for organizing groceries, outreach meetings, and prayer sessions, Ethan's giggle threaded through the room, a soothing balm to any lingering doubt. Yet, in the midst of the joy, an unsettling thought crept back. Would their combined efforts be enough to tackle the overwhelming need? What if their outreach uncovered wounds too deep for them to heal? "Let us pray again," she suggested, in a burst of inspiration. "Let us ask God for guidance on how to serve." As they dropped to their knees once more, Sarah felt the atmosphere shift. The space felt charged with purpose. Tears flowed freely, mingling laughter and prayer, all voices rising like incense. But her heart held a tight knot of anxiety. What if they faced opposition? Could their fragile faith withstand the strife of personal struggles, the weight of disappointment, or the resistance from those who doubted? "Lord," she prayed fervently, "as we step out, grant us the courage to face whatever may come. Help us mend broken hearts." In that moment of collective sincerity, a stillness arrived, deep and rich like the dusk. The world outside faded away. The whispers of the congregation felt like a warm embrace. Perhaps Sarah realized then that no journey traversed alone could ever bear the fruit they sought. Their constant love for one another and for those around them would be paramount in the trials to come. As the last echoes of prayer drifted into silence, Sarah opened her eyes, her heart ignited. They were being called away from comfort to something much greater. Yet the deeper question loomed. How would they hold on to their faith in the face of adversity? What storms awaited them in this unfolding purpose? Fueled by hope and uncertainty, her spirit whispered wisdom only the divine could provide. As she glanced at Mark, she wondered just how far this miraculous journey would lead them. The vibrant energy in the room transformed into a sacred stillness as they moved back into prayer, eyes closed, the weight of their intentions heavy yet hopeful. Sarah looked around, catching glimpses of faces illuminated by flickering candles, each reflecting a flicker of faith. The community, once fragmented and cautious, stood united, but the undercurrents of doubt lingered like shadows in the corners of her heart. "Lord," she whispered again, the urgency in her voice becoming a silent thread woven through the group's collective prayers. "Show us the way and help us to trust when the path is unclear." The pastor's voice rose, strong and grounding as he brought the group back to attention. "We have work to do. Let us not only pray, let us move. We will start with the local shelter. They need food, clothes, and, most importantly, love. Let us show them we are here." A wave of affirmation washed over the circle, and Sarah felt her spirit lift. Images of families filling their homes with laughter, once buried under layers of hardship, filled her mind. Hope was blooming like spring flowers after a harsh winter. Mark leaned closer, excitement sparkling in his eyes. "What if we set up meetings this week? We can plan what we'll do right away." The determination in his voice was contagious, igniting a spirit of fervor that swept through the group. "Yes, let us come together this Wednesday, discuss our resources, and pray for wisdom in our approach." Sarah felt warmth radiating from deep within. With every word, every voice joining in, a vibrant tapestry of purpose was being woven, one that would extend beyond the walls of St. Mary's. Each step forward felt like stepping into the unknown, merging fear with hope. What might they uncover about their neighbors' stories that could break their hearts wide open, or struggles that might challenge their faith? The thought both terrified and exhilarated her. Yet, just as quickly as doubt arose, a reminder echoed through her spirit. They were not alone. Days passed, and as Wednesday approached, anticipation thrummed in the air. Each member of the community brought willing hearts and eager hands to help. Sarah watched from her modest desk as notes and plans spread across the table, accompanied by laughter and conversation. Their preparation echoed the promise of something monumental, yet the tight knot in her stomach remained. "Let us pray one more time before we move out into the world," Mark suggested, his voice steady amid the bustling energy. Everyone gathered in a circle again, holding hands, the warmth of the connection weaving through them like a gentle breeze. "Lord," Sarah began, her voice quaking with fervor, "equip us with courage and compassion. Help us speak with kindness and listen with open hearts. In the face of pain, grant us the grace to be instruments of your love." A hush fell over them. Even the air felt still. It was as if heaven itself had paused to listen, to honor their collective plea. The storm outside rumbled softly, a reminder of the challenges that awaited. After the prayer, Mark squeezed her hand. "We're stepping into something bigger than ourselves, Sarah. No matter what happens, we're walking together." She nodded, feeling bolstered by the collective strength. Yet in the depths of her being, questions settled like dust. What if their hearts were too tender to withstand the exposure of others' suffering? What if they discovered the cracks in their own faith along the way? The meeting wrapped up and a new night beckoned. Sarah stepped outside, the moonlight casting silver pathways on the ground. It felt as if every step towards outreach was both a surrender and a promise, a step toward the unknown, illuminated only by faith. And just as she turned to head back in, a stranger wandered by, their eyes searching. The moment froze, an unexpected opportunity mingling with her apprehension. Could this be the start of a divine connection that would challenge everything she believed? Or would this be where she first tasted the bitter reality of their mission? The air crackled with foreboding possibility. Whatever lay ahead would require more than faith. It would demand a willingness to embrace the journey, however winding it may be. As she walked back toward the gathering, Sarah's heart raced with anticipation. The story was just beginning. The night air was thick with uncertainty as Sarah approached the stranger. They stood, shadows mingling under the silver light of the moon, caught in what felt like an eternal moment. She could see the weariness etched on their face and the subtle tremble of hope hiding within their eyes. "Can I help you?" she ventured, her voice softer than she intended. The stranger looked up, startled, yet there was a flicker of recognition, as if they had been waiting for her to appear. "I'm looking for something," they stammered, clutching a small backpack as if it contained the weight of the world. "Something or someone?" Sarah asked, a gentle nudge pushing her curiosity further. "Both, I guess. I lost my job last month, and I've lost my way," the stranger confessed, their voice thick with emotion. The vulnerability dancing on their lips struck a chord in Sarah's heart. "Come with me," she said, stepping aside to usher them toward the sanctuary of St. Mary's. "Let us talk. We're gathering to help others like you." As they walked together, every step seemed to echo with purpose. The stranger's name was David, and as he shared glimpses of his struggle, Sarah's conviction solidified. Every word reverberated with stories of shattered dreams and unyielding hope. It was as if God was drawing back the curtain, allowing her a glimpse of the larger picture, a divine narrative in which they were all characters seeking restoration. When they reached the church, the warmth wrapped around them like a blanket. The community buzzed with conversation, laughter, and the sizzling sounds of shared meals being prepped. As Sarah introduced David to the group, she felt a sudden rush of gratitude. Here in this room, under the flickering candlelight, they were creating a tapestry of connection. Each voice added a thread, weaving together struggles and triumphs, a mosaic of human experience painted with love. Mark caught her eye from across the room, his enthusiastic gestures encouraging her to bring David into the fold. "We have a place for you, David. Let us get you something to eat, and then we can talk about how we can help," Mark assured him, his genuine smile lighting up the dark corners of fear that lingered in David's heart. As they settled at the table, Sarah listened to stories that danced around the room, tales of loss and recovery, laughter mingling with tears. Each encounter brought forth a deeper understanding of community as a sacred bond. The fleeting doubts that had nestled in the corners of her mind began to dissipate, replaced by a spark of understanding. They were both the givers and the receivers of love, all intertwining in God's grand design. But as the evening wore on, lingering questions bubbled beneath the surface. Sarah could feel a weight settling on her heart. The joy in the room was palpable, yet shadows flickered, people carried pain hidden behind their smiles. Would their efforts be enough? Could they provide the support that everyone needed? The buzzing conversation dimmed to soft whispers as Pastor James stood to address them, his voice filled with conviction. "Tomorrow, we go out into our community. Let us be the hands and feet of Jesus. Let us show love where it's needed most." The group erupted in applause, hearts unified in purpose. Yet, as Sarah clapped along, a sudden question pierced her heart. Was she truly ready for the trials ahead? She felt like they stood on the edge of a precipice, ready to leap into the unknown, and it both thrilled and terrified her. As she looked around the room, into the faces of her community, she knew they were all yearning for something deeper. The air shimmered with the promise of healing, though the journey was sure to be arduous. "Lord, help us be strong," she silently prayed, feeling the weight of their mission settle once more. "Open our hearts and guide our steps." With every passing moment, the call to action echoed louder, and the air became electric with potential. As they gathered their resources, a sudden vision flickered. Was this what divine providence looked like? The night closed in around them, filled with possibility and the promise of new beginnings. Sarah took a breath, ready once more to step into the unfolding adventure ahead, realizing that every act of love set into motion could change someone's life forever. And just as the candlelight flickered one last time, a thought gripped her mind. How would they know if they were truly prepared for what God had planned? The dawn broke gently, casting golden rays through the stained glass of St. Mary's, painting the walls with shimmering colors. Sarah arrived early, her heart a whirlwind of excitement and trepidation. She felt the weight of the day ahead pressing against her chest, yet there was an undeniable thrill in the air. They were not just going out into the community, They were stepping into a divine appointment. As she brewed coffee in the kitchen, she could hear the soft murmurs of the early risers gathering. It felt like a holy moment of preparation for something sacred. Each face that appeared in the doorway was a reminder that they were bonded by a common purpose. They were seekers, ready to take action and serve. "Morning, Sarah," Mark called as he entered. "Are you ready for this?" His infectious smile ignited a spark of hope. "With God's help, I think so," Sarah replied, pouring a cup of steaming coffee. She felt unsteady, yet deep down, she knew that this was not about her, but about the community they would be embracing. Once everyone had gathered, Pastor James stood before them, his presence radiating warmth. Today is not just about helping. It's about showing the love of Christ in tangible ways. Each of you is a vessel of his grace. Let us find those who are lost, just like David was. Let us breathe life into the weary. As his words washed over her, Sarah felt a swell of faith. They flooded her with purpose, and the anxiety in her heart began to thaw. They shared a prayer, lifting their intentions before God, asking to be guided as they stepped into the world. Equipped with sandwiches, care packages, and abundance of love, they broke into small groups and set out. The sun glared down, blanketing the town in warmth, but Sarah found herself drawn to a quieter street. She felt an inexplicable pull, guiding her toward a small park where a lone figure sat on a bench. "Excuse me, do you mind if we join you?" she asked gently, feeling a rush of compassion as the elderly woman looked up. "Not at all, dear," the woman replied with a faint smile. "Just enjoying the sunshine." As they conversed, Sarah listened to the woman's story, her husband's passing, the loneliness that crept into her life. Each word flowed like a prayer, an invitation to sit in her pain. Sarah reached out, placing a hand on the woman's arm. "You're not alone. We're here for you. You may not see it, but love surrounds you." Tears glimmered in the woman's eyes as the warmth of connection spread between them. In that shared moment, Sarah came to a profound realization. Love was not just a concept. It was an active force, healing the brokenhearted and restoring hope. "We would love to have you join us for lunch at the church today," she offered, and the woman's face lit up with gratitude and a hint of disbelief. "Really? I'll like that very much." As they walked back to join the others, Sarah felt a kind of joy that went beyond happiness. It was a holy contentment that settled deep in her spirit. She had not only stepped into someone's world, she had actively participated in God's love story. Back at St. Mary's, laughter bubbled over as they welcomed new faces into their fold. David was there too, his spirit noticeably lighter. He embraced others warmly, connecting souls illuminated by kindness. But in the midst of this celebration, Sarah's heart whispered questions of deeper purpose. Would this small act lead to healing in the long term? How could they continue to sustain this love after today? As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows over the gathering, Pastor James reminded them, "We are called to not just serve, but to become a family. This is just the beginning. Let's make a commitment to each other." With fervent amens echoing around her, Sarah's heart raced. She knew the journey ahead would be filled with challenges, but a new certainty grew within her. They were chosen, not just to serve, but to share in a transformative journey together. As the day drew to a close, Sarah reflected on the power of community, the way it could heal and uplift. Yet lingering in her thoughts was the weight of responsibility, the realization that they were stepping into a battle of love against despair. That night, as she knelt in prayer, a new question arose: what would it cost? And how far would they need to go to truly be the hands and feet of Christ? Each day would demand more courage, more love, and a deeper faith. The night air buzzed with anticipation, and Sarah could feel that something was on the horizon, a divine calling waiting to unfold. Would they be ready for what was to come? The morning sun ushered in a new day, its rays promising hope and renewal. Sarah awoke with a sense of excitement that fluttered inside her, a vibrant reminder of the commitments made the night before. Today marked not just another outreach, but a promise, a pledge to deepen their bond as a community. Coffee brewed beside her, sending comforting aromas through the air. She looked out the window, watching as neighbors began their routines. There was adventure waiting beyond the church walls, a calling to unite in shared purpose and faith. Gathering at St. Mary's once again, the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. Faces brightened as they exchanged greetings, each smile a testament to the kinship they were forging. Pastor James once again took his place among them, his fervent spirit illuminating the room. "Today is our opportunity to spread our wings," he declared, eyes twinkling with enthusiasm. "We've fed the physical needs. Now, let us address the spiritual hunger. Let us open our hearts and let our actions be driven by love." As he prayed, Sarah's heart resonated with every word, and she felt that familiar swell of courage within her. She realized that each step taken today could lead to powerful transformations, not only in others but within themselves too. Armed with food and pamphlets filled with uplifting messages, they divided into teams once more. Sarah felt a new sense of purpose rising within her. She paired with Emily, a kind-hearted woman whose laughter was like a balm to tired souls. Their path led them to a bustling marketplace, which teemed with life and energy. Vibrant stalls lined the streets, displaying colorful fruits and handmade crafts. As they ventured deeper, Sarah felt the heartbeat of the community, an inviting rhythm that called them to engage. They approached a group of teenagers gathered around a fruit stand, loud and carefree. Sarah felt the urge to connect. "Hey there," she greeted cheerfully, sharing the sandwiches they brought. At first, the teens eyed them skeptically, but curiosity began to bubble forth. "What isn't it for you?" one asked, a hint of challenge in his tone. "It's not about us," Sarah replied, meeting his gaze, her voice sincere. "It's about you, a reminder that you're loved and valued." The challenge melted like ice in the sun as they began to talk, share stories, and laughter. Sarah watched as barriers fell. Their laughter echoed, filling her spirit with a joy that defied the mundane. After some time, Emily suggested they play a game together. Before long, everyone was laughing and cheering. An unexpected bond had formed. In that fleeting moment of joy, Sarah grasped the truth. Love was best expressed through connection and understanding. As they headed back to St. Mary's, the sun dipped lower, igniting the sky in hues of orange and pink. The conversations shared lingered in her thoughts, a reminder of the lives touched. Just as they reached the door, a young girl, hesitant and shy, approached them. "Can I come?" she whispered, her wide eyes glimmering with hope. "Of course. You are welcome," Sarah beamed, realizing God was expanding their circle, weaving more hearts into their shared journey. The atmosphere inside was electric. Faces from all walks of life flickered around the room, and Sarah felt overwhelmed by how beautifully they fit together. Each story, each smile contributed to the tapestry of their collective experience. But a question lingered: how could they keep this fire burning? As they gathered in circles to share what they experienced, a sense of urgency filled her thoughts. Each testimony offered insights, sparking ideas of further outreach and more connections. Then, Pastor James, sensing the momentum, raised a pivotal point. "What if we dedicate the next 3 days to seeking deeper connections? A time of focus and prayer silence that opens our hearts to hear his voice." Silence descended upon the group, palpable and profound. The idea of pausing their actions ignited varying emotions. Was this truly necessary? What might they find in silence? An exhilarating opportunity. Rested before them, stripped of the noise, they could truly seek God's will for their community. As Sarah stood there in prayerful reflection, a flicker of doubt crossed her mind. Could they handle the challenge? Would this be the key to unlocking even greater revelations? The atmosphere hummed with expectation, and unbeknownst to them all, a divine mystery was unraveling. Would they be ready to embrace what God had in store for them? The sun rose on a crisp morning, casting gentle rays that filtered through the stained glass of St. Mary's, illuminating the faces of those gathered. There was a hushed reverence in the air, carrying the weight of possibilities that awaited. Sarah could feel the tension beneath the surface, a mix of eagerness and uncertainty, like the quiet buzz before a storm. Pastor James stood before them, his presence radiating calm authority. "Friends," he began, smooth and steady, "over the next 3 days, we seek not to populate our calendars, but to empty our minds. We will listen, not just to each other, but to the whisper of God. In silence, many truths await." As he spoke, Sarah's thoughts danced between excitement and fear. What would silence unveil? She had always thrived in action, yet something deep within her stirred. The challenge of silence felt daunting, as if each hour would test her faith, but she resolved to embrace the journey. They formed smaller circles, an intimate gathering that encouraged honesty and rawness. Sarah felt the weight of anticipation press down on her as she closed her eyes, inviting the stillness. Around her, whispers of prayer melded into one soft rhythm, an anthem of faith that enveloped the room. With each passing hour, the initial discomfort began to fade. As Sarah sat in silence, the whispers of God began to emerge within her own heart. Images floated through her mind: the teenagers from the marketplace, the shy girl who now belonged, and the connections blossoming like spring flowers. Suddenly, someone in her circle broke the quiet. It was Emily, her voice a tender whisper. "How can we reach those who still feel unseen, who long for love but don't know how to ask?" Her question hung in the air, fragile yet profound, prompting a wave of murmurs. Each voice added depth, contemplating the scattered souls in their community and their own fears about stepping outside the safety of the church. Sarah sensed their shared desire to create a space of belonging, the same warmth they sought to impart to others. "What if we shared our own stories?" Sarah suggested hesitantly, finding courage in the knowledge that vulnerability brings connection. "What if we showed our struggles so others can see that they're not alone?" A quiet momentum filled the space. This was the essence of their mission, a community bound by shared humanity, not just faith. Each story told unveiled brokenness healed by grace, struggles transformed by love. With daylight fading, Sarah felt a divine spark ignite within her. She realized this challenge was not just about silence, but about being open to the revelations it would bring. It was about meeting God in every shy smile, every heartache, every moment of hope. On the third evening, as the sun set in a blaze of glory, they gathered again, more vibrant than before. Each face was transformed, illuminated by a new understanding. They exchanged laughter and tears, their stories entwined, creating a tapestry woven by faith, vulnerability, and connection. But just as they began to revel in this community bond, a sudden rustle at the door drew their attention. The young girl who had first timidly approached them stood there again. But this time, something shone in her eyes, an urgent energy, as if she had wandered through unseen realms. "Can I tell you something?" she asked, and her voice quivered with hope. Everyone leaned in, sensing that whatever she had to share was about to deepen their journey further. Sarah's heart raced with anticipation. What divine revelation might pour forth from that tender heart? What would the girl share that could change the very fabric of their community? All of them were eager to listen. The room fell into an expectant hush as the young girl stepped forward. Her eyes glimmered with a light that was both familiar and foreign, as if she carried the weight of something sacred. Sarah could sense the stillness deepen, reverberating through the hearts of those gathered. "Please," the girl urged, her voice steady now, "I need to tell you about the place I found." She took a breath, grounding herself in the moment. "I didn't know where to go after we talked. I wandered past the alley, where shadows linger longer than the light. And there, I saw them, the ones who feel the world does not see them." The words hung in the air, heavy with truth and urgency. Sarah could feel the others leaning closer, their faces a mixture of concern and compassion, as if they too had glimpsed this mysterious realm beyond the church walls. "Their hearts are heavy," The girl continued, her voice trembling yet resolute. So many are lost and hungry not for food, but for connection, just like us. They told me secrets, their burdens, their fears, their dreams. They feel invisible, but they long to be heard. At this moment, Sarah felt that divine spark flicker anew within her. How often had she brushed past those same shadows, caught up in the safety of the church community? What had she missed in her pursuit of the familiar? The girl's revelation pierced through the silence, awakening something profound. "Will you help me?" The girl pleaded, eyes searching each face for affirmation. "I believe we can bring them home, but we must show them love, show them they are wanted." A wave of murmurs spread through the room, a soft chorus rising in response to the challenge laid before them. Sarah felt her heart swell with purpose, a deep longing for more than just gatherings. She yearned for transformation. What if this was the sign they had been waiting for? "Of course we will," Emily said, her conviction like a lighthouse beam cutting through the fog. "We could be their voices." "Love transforms," Sarah whispered, barely aware of her own words as they spilled forth. "But how do we reach those who hide in the dark?" At that moment, Pastor James stepped forward, his presence grounding yet full of divine energy. "It begins with listening," he said, voice a steady anchor. "It begins with our hearts willing to step out, to be seen with them in their pain." His words ignited more than just agreement. They lit flames of inspiration. Each person's eyes sparkled with new possibilities, the anticipation building again, like hints of light breaking through heavy clouds. Sarah looked around the room, seeing her community shift from whispering thoughts to a chorus of shared missions. "Let us journey together," she suggested, her spirit buoyant. "Let us share our stories with them and bring back theirs to our hearts. They need to know they are not alone." And as they spoke, the once timid girl now stood proud among them. The atmosphere buzzed with action, with excitement, an unshakable foundation of love rising. In this moment, they knew their silence was leading them towards something far greater than words could convey. But in their eagerness, a weight lingered, a quiet fear. Could they truly approach those who had lost hope? Could their stories reach the unseen? The girl's glowing eyes reflected faith unrestrained, and Sarah sensed a shift in the air, a promise waiting to unfold. "What will it take to step forth into the unknown?" she murmured, the question echoing in her mind, as they prepared for a journey that would irrevocably change not just their community, but their very selves. And with that unyielding question in their hearts, the group stood ready for the adventure that awaited on the other side of silence. Would they find the courage to answer the call? With the dawn breaking anew, Sarah felt a profound sense of purpose as she and her community gathered at St. Mary's. The air thrummed with anticipation, electric and heavy with the promise of divine connection. Together, they had wrestled with faith, doubt, and the silence that had birthed insights pleading for action. Today, they would step beyond the boundaries of their familiar world. The young girl, standing resolute among them, watched as each face reflected the heart of their gathered hope. God had orchestrated this moment, and Sarah could feel the gentle nudging in her spirit, the call to venture into the unknown, hand in hand with those who sought love. "Friends," Pastor James began, his voice strong yet tender, "today we embrace our mission. We will walk into the shadows where our brothers and sisters yearn to be seen. We are not just spreading love, we are sharing our hearts. Let us remember that every soul matters." The congregation erupted in affirmations, a chorus of voices intertwining, creating a tapestry of agreement and fiery determination. They gathered supplies, simple tokens of kindness, sandwiches, clothes, and blankets, with each item packed carrying prayers for the unseen. As they stepped into the warm light of the day, Sarah's heart raced. Today, they would face the potential rejection and fear head-on, but she reminded herself, "We have been called, this is divine purpose." They made their way to the alley the young girl had described, their laughter mingling with the rustling of leaves, a comforting soundtrack against the distant hum of life. When they reached the alley, a hush settled over the group, eyes widening as the realities unfolded before them. Men and women perched on crumbling walls, seeking shelter from the sun, but finding themselves lost in despair. "Can we help?" Sarah called out, her voice breaking the silence like a smooth stone cast into a still pond. The people looked up, surprise dancing on their faces, curiosity replacing uncertainty. The warmth of Sarah's smile radiated hope. She felt the welcoming glow of empathy surge among her community as they approached, opening their arms and hearts wide. One by one, each member shared their stories, the battles they faced, the dreams they cultivated. Every shared experience struck a chord. The once guarded expressions softened, and the barriers that kept them apart began to vanish like mist in the sun. "Are you really here for us?" one man asked, his eyes shimmering with a mix of skepticism and longing. "We are," Mark replied, stepping forward, his resolve steady. "Not just today, but always. You are loved, and your story matters. We want to lift each other up." The responses poured forth, tears of joy intermingling with emotions long hidden in shadows, a sacred space birthed from vulnerability. From those depths, laughter broke through thick silence, echoing as connections formed. The young girl spoke softly, words threading through the mix. "You are not invisible. We see you." Her declaration vibrated through the air. In that moment, a miraculous shift occurred. Hope became tangible. Faces turned toward one another. Conversations ignited. Stories went from being whispered to celebrated. For every voice that found courage, another weak heart was embraced, healing sparked like fireflies swirling in dusk. As the sun dipped low and shadows intertwined with the encroaching night, Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. It was not just about their act of kindness, but the revelation that each interaction wove them tighter into a family. Community was reviving in front of her eyes, renewed by love and connection, that profound truth seeping into the very fabric of their experiences. But the journey took its toll too. As Sarah observed, faces weighed down by burdens half buried, uncertainty flickered within her. What would it take to sustain this connection? What happens when the thrill of new experiences fades, revealing the raw truth behind their struggles? That uncertainty loomed like a dark cloud. They had faced vulnerabilities today. Could they continue to be vessels of hope in the face of overwhelming need? "Lord, grant us endurance," Sarah silently prayed, hands clasped with fellow believers. "Help us build bridges, not just for today, but for the seasons yet to come." The night wrapped around them snugly, filled with the glow of lanterns illuminating their way back to St. Mary's. They returned, hearts overflowing with stories, shared victories, small and large, each an integral thread in the wonderful tapestry of community they were embracing. As they arrived at St. Mary's, the atmosphere buzzed with fervor. They were eager participants in this weaving, knowing an even deeper understanding awaited. Pastor James welcomed them, announcing, "Tonight we celebrate not just our efforts, but the hope we have rekindled. Let us be vessels of love." Joy erupted, voices intertwined with laughter, celebration igniting the sanctuary as they shared their stories. They looked back at the alleyways that had once felt imposing yet were now transformed by the spirit of connection. Hope felt real, vibrant, and tethered to community. As Sarah gazed across the sea of faces, doubts transformed into resolve. She realized divine victory was not a singular moment, but a continuum of choices, a battleground of love waged in everyday life. Tonight, they stood at the precipice of destiny, where each heart beat as one. And in that beautiful chaos, Sarah knew they were transformed not just as individuals, but as a living testament to God's grace manifest, woven through trust and compassion. As prayers were lifted and love spilled over, the echoes reverberated far beyond St. Mary's, reaching every corner of their town that sought to resonate with the divine purpose God instilled within them. "Together, we are more than conquerors," they declared, voices united in holy affirmation. knowing every step ventured into darkness would reveal light like never before. This was the moment of divine conclusion birthed in faith, not an ending, but an invitation to continue engaging, embracing, and uplifting one another as they journeyed forward. Together, they were not merely a community, they were God's chosen, destined for transformation, shimmering with hope amidst the darkest of times, pulsing forward into the uncharted horizons yet to be discovered. And now, my friends, this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to our channel if you want to witness more exclusive faith stories that will ignite your spirit. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let the world see the power of our collective testimony. Comment below with your reactions and testimonies about today's miraculous ending. Share how this has impacted your faith journey. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this divine manifestation. Let us spread the love and hope far and wide. Together, for only true servants of God understand the importance of supporting this channel through these mighty actions.